Welcome to the Shipping Podcast, where I meet interesting maritime professionals sharing their passion for the shipping industry and their everyday job. I am your host. My name is Lena Gothberg. Hello, Shipping Podcast friends. The most loyal listeners. This is a bonus episode celebrating the 7th anniversary of the Shipping Podcast. I was thinking of sharing the journey of the Shipping Podcast with you, how it all started, and some memories I cherish in my heart. My background is that I have been in the marine insurance industry, both as an insurance broker and as a hull underwriter. I am based in Gothenburg, in Sweden. When I left the insurance industry, I was asked to head up an organization called the Institute of Shipping Analysis, which supported the maritime industry with business intelligence. It was a member-based organization, and my task was to attract more members. However, I didn't get any budget for marketing from the board, which isn't that uncommon in the maritime industry, where marketing and communication is somewhat underappreciated, if you ask me. Anyway, I had to come up with new ideas, other ideas to attract new members. Since I was paid by the hour, no one could stop me from hanging out with people interested in online communication and social media. I went to conferences with bloggers and vloggers and programmers and people that just loved the new media online communication. And there I came across some people talking about podcasting. This was in 2014. I asked for a podcast about shipping. I thought the media would suit the maritime industry, as it's all about storytelling and we need to tell the story about shipping to the world. So, what better way to do that than via a podcast? There was no podcast covering the shipping industry at that time. And everyone told me that either I needed to stop asking about it or that I would have to do it myself. Since I was so fed up explaining to my friends outside the shipping industry what I did for a living and why I found it so interesting, I decided to start the Shipping Podcast myself. I bought the domain shippingpodcast.com and signed up for an online course on how to podcast. The podcasting school for women. You see, the podcasting industry is as male-dominated as the shipping industry. So there was somewhere I could go to get some insights and knowledge on how to podcast. But since there was no other podcast in the maritime industry, I didn't know what the audience wanted to listen to. So when I launched the podcast at the end of July 2015, I decided to release 4 episodes in one go. So I started with the captain, a social media guru, a ship owner, and a banker. If someone was interested in listening to the captain of the largest container vessel at the time, the Maersk McKinney Møller, they could listen to Nils V. Pedersen from Maersk Line. On the other hand, if they had an interest in social media in the maritime industry, Jonathan Wishman was top of mind at that time, and he shared how to set up all the different social media channels and how he did that when he was with Maersk. Then I thought that the view of a ship owner might be exciting. And since I know Carl-Johan Hagman, who at the time was the CEO of Stena Line and head of all maritime activities in the Stena Group, he came on for episode number 3. And then I had to have a woman in the first episodes. And I had just listened to an exciting speech by Tina Margrethe Saltvedt, a market analyst at Nordea in Norway. So I asked her to speak about the oil price and why that is so important to us. Those were the first interviews I released. I had no idea how this would turn out. But I spent the next 2 years teaching people in the industry how to listen to the shipping podcast on their mobile phones. They didn't know, and they didn't want to ask when someone saw them asking me. But I have probably held more than 100 mobile phones in my hand, showing them the app and how they can listen. Also, I knew that many in the shipping industry were very analog. So when I built the website, I built it with a very large play button to cater for those people. Someone asked me, "How can I listen to myself now that you have interviewed me?" And I said, just sit still at your desk, go to shippingpodcast.com and press play. It was very efficient, I can tell you. After a while, I could see from the statistics that the podcast was downloaded in maritime hubs worldwide, which meant that the people in the industry were eavesdropping. They listened to new ideas and the typical tech-nerdy things that I brought to the table. This made me realize that I can make a difference. I can create a space where also female voices in the maritime industry are heard. So, I made a strategy to get equally many women as men to appear on the shipping podcast. In 2017, Young Ship Oslo, in cooperation with North Shipping, compiled a list of 10 women to watch for the future. An excellent initiative. And I decided to interview the women to watch, to give them a little push and to help me reach my goal of showcasing more female voices. In 2019, the IMO selected Empowering Women in the Maritime Community as the World Maritime Day theme, and the World Maritime University in Malmö organized a conference on the same topic. I think that the theme opened up for women to claim space and make themselves heard, and I could benefit from that as an advocate for more gender diversity. And I felt so empowered by meeting all the women working at sea at the conference in Malmö. It took me 5 years to achieve equilibrium. And today there are more women than men who have been in conversation with me on the shipping podcast. And no one of them is there on a quota, because I'm against quota. They're all there because they've got something to say and they are equally interesting to listen to as their male peers. So this is the short version of what happened 7 years ago and how it all started. Today, the podcast is downloaded in more than 190 countries worldwide. And every month, there are between 6,000 and 7,000 downloads. So more than 200 listens every day. And there is, of course, a top 10 list, the most listened to episodes. Among the top 5 are, of course, Captain Kate and Captain Thomas, the two most outstanding social media advocates for the maritime industry. If you're not following them on Instagram, you need to do that. Also, John Conrad, the editor of G Captain, has his place on the top 5. Frank Coles, when he spoke for the Day of the Seafarer last year, there were so many seafarers listening to that. I could see that. And then there is Lars Säverström, a Swede who started GAC in the Middle East. If you want to listen to them or anyone else, just use the search function on the website shippingpodcast.com. I think I have succeeded with what I set out to achieve. I have a platform for broadening the horizon of the people inside and outside the maritime industry to a greater understanding of our world. This is important, so that we just not withhold the status quo. We need a change. I challenge the maritime industry to become inclusive, sustainable, and progressive by having conversations that shift the view of the maritime industry. And doing so may also inspire more people to contribute to the much needed change. Every conversation matters. Thank you for listening today. This podcast would be nothing without you, the listeners. For those who knows me, I love feedback. So please send me some at hello@shippingpodcast.com. I will be celebrating for a while.